tell you to go ahead and share a little bit more about yourself and take it away.
Awesome. Can you all hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
Okay. I am so excited because I live here in Orlando, Florida, but I'm originally from Sterling Heights. So where are my Sterling Heights people at? All right, that's so exciting. Awesome. That is where I was born, raised, all that stuff. So it's so nice to see you all. Like Tammy said, I'm a classroom teacher. I no longer am in the classroom, but education is what I'm passionate about. But I'm more passionate about just having individuals be empowered, but by themselves. So finding that internal empowerment where they're able to embrace who they are. I now work for the University of Central Florida, and I work with community schools all across the state where we provide access for students and families to get the education that they deserve, right? And we provide wraparound services for students. But when I'm not doing that, I also do coaching. So I do personal empowerment coaching, but I'm really passionate about just having people kind of unleash the light that they have inside. And I know that this is a leadership club. And so the best part about being a leader is that you have the ability to empower other people. And especially all of you, as you kind of go out, maybe become entrepreneurs, you have this amazing superpower to really be able to make the difference in someone's life, right? Just by them sitting in your chair or working with them, really giving them that opportunity to be empowered. So today, I'm just going to jump right in because we're going to be talking about unleashing your glow. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to share my screen here. All right. Are you all able to see that? Yes. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to be talking about glowing today, but unleashing our light to inspire others because we cannot feed into other people unless we love and embrace our beautiful human selves, right? But before we get started, I want us to go ahead. We're going to do a little grounding activity. And I want you guys, because, it is what, 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. We've come from all different places. So sometimes it's important to kind of get grounded. So I want everyone just to take a second. I want you to close your eyes and just take a deep breath. And I want you to inhale through your nose. And I want you to exhale. All right. And I want you to start off by looking for 5 things that you can see. 5 things around you that you can see. And I want you to really take notice of those 5 things and just kind of, you might even see something that is always around you, but you've never noticed until this moment. All right, now I want you to find 4 things that you can touch. And as you're doing that, I want you to kind of pay attention to the texture, how do they feel? So focus on maybe 4 things that you can touch. All right, now I want you to pause and identify 3 things that you can hear. Okay, maybe it's the hum of the air conditioner, maybe it's the squeaking of a chair, the sound of the traffic, or maybe it's just your own breathing. But I want you to pause and identify 3 things that you can hear. All right, now I want you to notice 2 things that you can smell. All right, and if you can't smell anything right now, maybe think of your favorite scents. So what are 2 things that you can smell? All right. And then the last thing, I want you to finally focus on one thing that you can taste. Maybe it's what you ate for lunch and it's still lingering on your breath. Maybe it's a mint that you just threw into your mouth, but I want you to focus on one thing that you can taste. And then I want you to take a deep breath in and out. One of the biggest things that sometimes as humans we don't give ourselves a chance to do is pause and stay grounded. And when we're in the busy hustle and bustle of just life, and when life is kind of lifing hard, sometimes we need moments to just kind of pause and bring awareness to ourselves so that we're able to feed into other people. All right. So now that we're all focused, now that we're grounded, we're going to kind of jump in here to this next piece. And the next piece that we're going to really focus on is what glow is actually going to mean. What are we going to cover today? So the first thing is the G in glow stands for grow through self-knowledge. Okay. And this is the teacher and me. I taught third, fourth, and fifth grade. So I'm going to make you use some hand gestures. Okay. And I'm going to make you say things out loud. So I want you guys to go ahead and say grow. And I want you to start down here because we all start somewhere, right? I want you to say grow through self-knowledge. I want you to go ahead and say that. Let me hear you. Oh, I see you. I see you. Okay, one more time. Grow through self-knowledge. Let's see it.
Grow through
Yes.
self-knowledge.
I love it. Thanks for bringing that energy. All right, so the next one is lead yourself. Lead yourself. And I want you to take your hands like this, and I want you to put them in front of you. And I want you to say, lead yourself. Go ahead. Lead yourself. Yes, bringing that energy today. I love it. Okay. And then the third one is own. And I want you to put your hand on your chest like this. I want you to say, own your inner beauty. Go.
Own your inner beauty.
Love it. All right. And then I want you to go ahead and hug yourself because you know what? We don't hug ourselves enough. All right. I want you to say the warmth of giving back.
Warmth of giving back.
Okay, awesome. All right, so those are the four pieces that we're going to talk about because I feel like these are really key components of being a leader. So we're going to jump into that. So let's start with the first one, grow through self-knowledge. So the reason why I feel like people need to really make sure that they know themselves is because a long time ago, I remember looking in the mirror one day. And I remember, man, I am so caught up in the day-to-day life. I'm so caught up with my job that I actually forgot who I was. How many of you have ever been there where you're like, man, I'm caught up in the everyday, you know, we're trying to serve everybody else. And you're like, when was the last time I drank water? Right. And so what we really need to do is kind of pause. And a lot of times in life, when I ask people, who are you? They give me their role in life. So maybe they say, oh, I know who I am. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a spouse, I'm a sibling, brother, aunt. Or they give their career, right? They say, oh, well, I'm a doctor, hairstylist, I'm a teacher, right? And don't get me wrong, those titles and roles are huge, right? They're important, they're vital to society. However, okay, they don't just encompass the whole part of who you are. Okay. So those are just titles. Those are just roles. Those are just things that we do and the roles that we serve in life. But we have to be careful because we want to make sure we don't forget who we are. So a key component of that is doing a personal self-assessment because it can really help you gain a deeper understanding of who you are. It can provide a clear picture of where you are in your current situation, right? Because where you are now is not where you were sometimes yesterday, right? Or where you are now is not where you were a year ago, 2 years ago. When I look at myself 12 years ago, that's when I left Michigan and I moved to Florida. I am a completely different person now. So the needs I had back then are not the same needs I have now. And so it's important to really stop and focus on what we want. All right. And there's a lot of different types of self-assessments. One, if you've ever heard of this, is Strength Finders. And this book is awesome because inside the book, there's a quiz that you can take online and it actually helps you break down what your top strengths are. And if you're wondering, well, I already know what my strengths are. This breaks it down to like a micro level. I'm a nerd like that. And I love these different personality things. It breaks it down on a micro level so that you're able to see like, oh man, you know what? One of my top strengths is belief. And that makes sense because you know what? I'm really passionate when I put my mind to something. Right. And so really thinking through those things can be really helpful and knowing what you want. Here's the next thing, and I'll share this with you. And there's a little QR code. Over the years, just in my personal research and the things that I've been doing, I put together a little self-assessment and I ended up putting it together in an actual sheet for people. And this is straight from my journal, just in personal things that I realized that brought me back to myself. Because so many times in life, we say, oh, I value this because that's what other people value, right? But when we break it down, what do we personally value? What are our passions that we have? What are our goals? What are the areas that we want to improve? And this little quiz breaks it down into 4 categories. So, what do you value? What are you passionate about? What are you great at? And what would you like to improve? And these are game-changing things that can actually bring you back to yourself. So when you're ever in that state where you're like, man, I don't know the direction I'm going. Sometimes it's helpful to have something like this to go back to really have that grounding moment, to be like, okay, this is what I'm great at. Or, you know what, this is an area that I would like to improve in, which, by the way, is constant. We're never really reaching our full potential all the time because there's more we can always accomplish. Next thing I want to talk about is leading yourself. And this starts with how you see yourself. Okay. So I'm going to throw a picture up and I want you to just kind of let it soak in. All right. So these are two photos and I want you to just picture this. And I don't know if anyone wants to come off mute, but share what is an insight that that kind of pops into your mind when you see these 2 pictures.
Sally, I'll share my thoughts.
Go for it.
All right. So I see, like, if this were me, that I could see myself in 2 different ways, like as somebody that is like a leader and somebody that might feel like really confident in themselves, or and then in the other photo, maybe it's just the opposite of that. So maybe depending on the day, week, month, year, whatever, I could see myself in different ways.
Absolutely. Awesome. So I'll kind of jump in here too. These are really 2 different perspectives of kind of different times that we can face in our lives, right? Sometimes we are that kitten that when we look in the mirror, we're like, man, I see that lion, right? And you see where your passions are, you see where you're going to go, you're motivated. And then there's sometimes where we are that lion, but we look in the mirror and we only see what's wrong with us and we only see how small we are. And sometimes all we see is that we're maybe insignificant. But the important thing to keep in mind is that we want to make sure that we're always focused on who we are and we know who we are so that when we're looking in that mirror, we see that lion when we're focused. So I'm going to take us through a little bit of a visualization exercise that kind of helps get you focused in what it is that you want. So when you visualize, I want everyone, if you have paper with you or anything to write on, this would be a good time to get that out. Because when you visualize, visualizing helps you to really set in front of you what those goals are, right? So in leadership, there are different avenues that you could go, especially when you're working with other people or you're trying to inspire other people or motivate other people. And this isn't something that I've gone back to many, many times just to get myself grounded in that piece. So let's go ahead. Let's start with this. So I want everyone to pause for a second and think about something that you want. So think about something you want. It could be career-wise, it could be personal. So think about something that you want and just write the first thing down that comes to your head. If you have paper or something in front of you, or if you don't, you can just think about it. Now, once you've thought about that, I want you to think whatever it was that you wrote down, what value could you add? What is the value that you could add? The next question would be, why is this important to you? The next question, who are you hoping to help? And then this one, what do you hope to learn about yourself? And then the last one, thinking about what is the impact accomplishing this would have on my life. And you might not have been able to write a full sentence down because sometimes this is something that you could actually sit down and you can spend an hour doing this. But when you take time to visualize and ask yourself these questions, all it does is bring meaning and purpose back to what it is that you want to accomplish. And when you actually get to a point where you wake up every day, sometimes what happens is when you kind of finish this kind of cycle of like visualizing, you get to a point where you wake up every day with that feeling like I have no choice but to put my visions into action, right? Because the world needs you to. So when you have that fire lit under you, that's when you know that you're standing in that power that you're supposed to stand in, that you're meant to stand in. So the next thing we're going to talk about is owning your inner beauty, right? So going out and being a leader. Leaders, a lot of times we talk about when we think leadership, we think these are people who are in charge, right? These are people who kind of give direction. But a leader is so in touch with themselves and so self-aware that they're able to then empower other individuals because they can see that power within somebody else, right? So one of the strategies that I like to throw out there is the shield of self-worth. Okay, now hear me out with this. I remember doing this one time with my fifth grade students. And, you know, fifth graders, they think they're grown. They think they're grown adults, right? And I remember saying, okay, I want you to write down everything, all your strengths. And I remember I had a student that came to me and said, I don't have anything to write. I don't have anything I'm good at. And so I ended up putting the shields on everybody's desk and I had everyone go around and write what they saw in each other. And then I went and I did this with adults. And guess what? I had adults come up to me saying, I don't know what I'm good at either. And there's points in time sometimes where we reach that point where sometimes our inner critic and those people who are naysayers, or maybe those people who throw doubt in your head, can actually overshadow who you are. And so this shield of self-worth is actually could be your armor against those assaults, right, of your inner critic and the doubt cast by kind of, I like to call them the you canters, the people who say you can't. Because sometimes those things that people say can end up becoming your truth. So when you put things on this shield, like, I'm resilient, I know my worth, right? And you put your unique strengths on this shield and you write it on there, that shield actually stands as your reminder of what your value is. So that whenever you have those things come your way that can kind of overshadow who you are, you have this shield that you've created for yourself, right? To have that unwavering confidence, no matter what situation you're in. And then here's what I always say too. What would you tell your younger self? Now, I don't know if this hairstyle is still in, but I had this bowl haircut forever. Okay. But this right here, this is a picture that I actually, when I was going through and I was doing some cleaning, I actually found this older picture of myself. And I actually put this picture on my mirror. And every day I look at it and say, did I make her proud today? So when we're ever at a point where we're unsure of like, what could I even write on my shield? What am I even good at? Who can I even empower today? Think about what could you say to your younger self, right? And then what would you say to others? Sometimes we say a lot of negative self-talk to ourselves that we wouldn't even imagine saying to other people. So sometimes it's important to really stop and think about, what would I say to that younger self? So one of the quotes that I just absolutely love, and I think it's so important as we kind of enter this world in this day and age that we're in, is just remember that all grown-ups were once children, but sometimes people don't remember it. And my interpretation of this quote is that we're all just giant baby humans walking around trying to figure out this life. Okay, so we don't all have it figured out, but we're kind of moving through life the best that we can. And if we can just shine a little bit of light into that world and make a little bit of difference, that's the biggest game changer. So a question I just kind of want to throw at you is, what would you put on your shield? If you were to create a shield, if you were just to draw it out and think about, what could I put on my shield, thinking about maybe the strengths, characteristics, what makes you unique, what makes you valuable, why are you going into the career that you're going in? And even thinking about affirmations that you can remind yourself of. And one of the things that I always suggest is, if you decide to do a strategy like this, is put this where you can see it every day, right? On those moments that we feel like maybe we can't, put it somewhere where you can see every day to remind you of your purpose. So the last thing that I'm going to touch on is the warmth of giving back, right? So once you embrace who you are and you really understand who you are, when you take that self-assessment, when you make sure that your cup is filled, then you have the capacity to really be able to fill other people's cups, right? And you will have this beautiful power to give back to the community and give back to the people that you serve. Now, one of the things that I find that's game changer is giving back is not always monetarily, right? We don't always have to spend a lot of money. We don't have to go above and beyond. Sometimes it's the simplest little things to help people feel seen and heard and valued. And I want you to think for a second, when was there a time that someone made you feel seen and you feel heard and you feel valued? And then one thing to remember too is that everyone has had a chapter of dark days, right? But I think the question that we can kind of ask is, what is one small thing we can do to bring a little bit of light to someone's darkness? And I had a personal experience with this where I was at a point in my life where I was in a situation that was not good for me mentally and physically. And I remember walking into a bathroom of all places, and I saw a post-it note on a bathroom mirror that said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." How many of you have ever heard that quote by Eleanor Roosevelt? And let me tell you, when I saw that post-it note, it was a game changer for me. That post-it note literally changed my life and saved my life. So we never know what little things that we do can be a game changer for somebody. And here's the other thing too. One way you can do that is by listening. So when you all are meeting with clients, listen to what they're passionate about. People love to talk about the things that they're passionate about. People love to talk about what they like. So listen. And you know what? As creepy as it sounds, take some notes on people. We had someone come into one of our schools, and she was talking all about how she passes by this florist every day. And she's like, man, they have these beautiful calla lilies. And she was obsessed with this florist. And she was new, and we were trying to welcome her in, and she was kind of going through some things. And so one day we were like, you know what? We need to do something for her just to kind of change the course of how her day was going. And so we went to that florist and we were like, listen, we know someone that is obsessed with this florist. And we ended up getting her favorite flower. And it wasn't about the fact that we went and bought those things, right? It was the fact that we remembered her favorite florist, right? So little things can be a game changer, right? And so I have this quote up here that says, be somebody that makes everybody feel like a somebody. This is game changing stuff that can really change the tone. And I'll tell you right now, one of the most memorable moments and most game changing moments and is when I've been sitting at the salon with my hairstylist, where I have felt in that moment of time, everyone, all my issues were gone for a second. And that professional gave me space to see and hear me. And sometimes that's all we need to do. And especially as leaders, that can be a game changer. Okay. So let's review. The first one was what? I want to hear you. What was the first one?
Grow through self-knowledge.
Oh, wow. I'm going to need y'all to bring some energy. Okay. Can we try that one more time?
Grow through self-knowledge.
Yes. Okay. The second one.
Lead yourself.
Yes. The third one.
Own your inner beauty.
And the fourth one.
Warmth of giving back.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So as we kind of close out, I want you to think about the moment that we started, right? And where we are now. And I want you to think about, you have two choices of questions. You can think about, what insights have you gained today? And what are you most curious about? And these are questions that you can take with you and ask yourself at the end of the day, every day. What insights did I gain today? What am I most curious about that I can learn more about? So these are just kind of reflection questions that can kind of give you a pause and help you to kind of reflect on where you are. All right. And then this slide right here is just my contact information. If you want to get in touch with me, or if you have questions, or you would like copies of some of the resources that I shared, feel free to get in touch. You can scan the QR code. But it was so great to see you all. It was so great. Hopefully one day I'll be able to actually pop in when I'm in town over there in Michigan. And really just be able to connect with you all. But thank you so much for all of your time today. I hope you have an awesome day.
Thank you so much, Sally, for your information. We appreciate everything that you shared. It was outstanding. I'll send you all the recording. And then also, I love that you put out there that they can reach out to you. So if you guys have any questions, comments, anything you want to share with Sally, I'm sure that she would love to connect with you. Awesome
Absolutely.
job, Sally. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you
Bye,
later.
everybody.
Bye, guys.